Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons tactical match preview breakdown of the upcoming Everton game that is coming. Yeah, tomorrow now. It's come up very fast. These Europe Premier League matches, back and forth, are really starting to take the toll. But hopefully, we're going to break it down for you guys, and you can see exactly why this is going to be a very tough game against Everton. And the pressure is starting to build on David Moyes. Back to back defeats. If it was to be a third in a row, they would start to be questions asked of him, but yeah, before we get into it, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel as always, and let's get into the breakdown. So, just as kind of an insight into Everton's season so far in the Premier League, scoring goals has been a problem for them, but also defensively, they've been pretty good. Not amazing, but there's definitely room for improvement for them. But they are going to be tough to break down, especially as we are very difficult. We find it very difficult to break teams down that do sit in maybe a lower block and invite us to have more ball possession. And we're going to break that down very shortly. But just as an overview, they've played 9 games, same as us, scored 9 goals. 3 of those were in a 3-0 win against Bournemouth. So that kind of tells you how they've found so far this season in terms of actually finding the back of the net. They have struggled. 9 goals in 9 games isn't a great return, to be honest. They should be doing better than that. But defensively, they haven't been like completely blitzed away. They've only conceded 14 goals in 9 games, so it's not a hideous record at all. It's actually one of the better defensive records in the league so far. So it's going to be a tough game. And they're averaging around 43% possession. So again, similar style to us, I would say. Hard to break down, relying on set pieces at the moment, and counter attacks, and supporting the striker, etc. So it's going to be a very tough game, very very tough game. But they have only kept 1 clean sheet so far this season. So, and that was against Bournemouth when they won 3-0. So there's definitely going to be room for finding the lines, breaking down this Everton team. And we're going to get into that right now and just give you kind of a visual representation of how it would all look on the pitch and what we kind of expect to happen on Sunday. So this is how we can kind of maybe expect both teams to line up. It's kind of what I would like to see from a West Ham point of view. So at left back, Emerson's going to be suspended for us. So I would say Ben Johnson is the most natural one to come in, other than Cresswell, who I don't really want to see come in as well. And then you've got Kufal, Zuma, Ged, and then a midfield three of Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, Kudus. He just has to be in this team. He deserves to get those Premier League starts under his belt in his natural position. So I would be looking to play him in that midfield three, and instead of Souček, who again played a pretty long time in Europa League again midweek. So for me, that's what I would do, and stick Paqueta out on that kind of inverted left position at the moment as he's been playing. Not ideal, but it's kind of a temporary solution at the moment to what we need to kind of fit these players into the same team. And this is how I want us, or kind of half expect us to line up. It wouldn't surprise me if Souček's in there instead of Kudus, and Cresswell, if he is fit, instead of Johnson. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. And obviously, Kufal's going to be touch and go whether he's going to be fit for the match as well. So we might see Kera come in at right back. But over on the Everton side, this is kind of picking itself to an extent. This is their team that they played against Liverpool, bar one, which was Ashley Young at right back, who obviously got that red card. So either someone like Patterson or Ben Godfrey will come in at right back. It'll be one of those two most likely. And they might change a few things from that lineup. But this is the team that won 3-0 against Bournemouth, other than the right back position. So we can kind of expect it to be around like this. And what I want to do is just show you kind of the average positions from that Bournemouth game that Everton actually took up. Obviously, it's a game they're maybe expected to impose a little bit more on, and it kind of gives you an idea of how they like to play. So what they like to do is get Calvert-Lewin in these types of positions. They get Decore very close. Obviously, these two are their top goal scorers in the Premier League so far this season, with 3 and 2 goals. So that's what they're looking to do. And then they're looking to support that. It's very obvious what Sean Dyche wants to do. He wants to get bodies as close to Calvert-Lewin as possible when the ball is in this area, or when they have it here, they're looking to play into Calvert-Lewin and play off of him. Similar to what we've tried to do in the past with Antonio, but with Antonio, we would have him running the channels and the balls into those channels where we try and turn over defenses quickly. But for Everton's case, they'll do this. They'll try and squeeze up Onana a bit closer. McNeil as well will kind of roam in this position, which gives Mikalenko that overlapping run. which you'll see more so than this side with if Ben Godfrey or Patton's going to be playing at right back. So he'll probably tuck into this position. They'll try and push up like this. And this is probably what I would expect them to do. If they're getting the balls from the centre back like this, and Paqueta goes to press, and we have Johnson in here, for example, what we're going to see is that long ball into Calvert-Lewin in the channels like this. So it's something we're going to have to be very closely monitoring because, they've got Harrison and McNeil as well, who are excellent ball deliverers from wide positions, especially McNeil on his left foot over this side. Harrison, not so much on his right foot, but what he is a bit more direct than McNeil. And if he is playing instead of someone like Danjuma, which we can probably expect, he's going to be looking to make those runs outside of our left back and also has the threat of coming inside on that left foot and looking for the back post, which Calvert-Lewin's very good at doing and pulling off in these positions. So, for example, if they do have the ball in this position, I can expect Calvert-Lewin to win the initial knockdown above a Gerd, which I think they're going to target. I think this is going to be a key battle for us because I think Zuma will definitely have a better chance than a Gerd will over Calvert-Lewin in those aerial battles. It's going to be a very difficult game for a Gerd. And I think Sean Dyche is going to identify that, and they are going to get Decore very close. So when the ball kind of breaks down here, Alvarez again is going to be one that's going to be very important to win in these duels. And it's why I don't mind Paqueta in this position here, because he is one of our better industrial players when it comes to tackling and breaking up play. So if they're looking to get over this side a lot of the time, it may be that Sean Dyche switches it, but I think it will be because Agaird's over here. I can see Paqueta having a pretty important role in this area of the pitch defensively, especially if we haven't got Emerson, which we don't. So I would like to see Paqueta in this position trying to disrupt this pattern that Sean Dyche is going to be doing, but it's going to become very crowded. It's going to be an ugly game, I would say, from Everton's perspective. They're going to look to do this. They're going to look to get the Corey on the ball. And as mentioned, if Paqueta, which he tends to do throughout games, he kind of tends to drift off a little bit. And I think that's where they're going to try and capitalize when Paqueta's maybe asleep or he's putting some shift further up the pitch. And Harrison's going to be key to that as well. Garner's there to support. They've got Onana, who also likes to make those runs, and Garner will then sit. But yeah, so they're going to win this initial breakdown. The ball's going to try and go wide to Harrison. He's going to have that one-on-one situation in this area. Calvert-Lewin's going to look for this space here. Alvarez is going to have to cover the run of Decore. And then Kudus is obviously going to have Garner or Onana coming in, which is where you'll have Ward-Prowse tucking in. But yeah, what I can see is I'm pushing us back into this position here as we just move our defenders back. Harrison's going to be taking the ball down the line here, looking to cut inside like this. And then you've got Calvert-Lewin, Decore, and even someone like Onana arriving late in the box, which is going to be, again, something Ward-Prowse is going to have to look better at, because in that European game against Olympiacos in midweek, it's something he let happen too often. And it was kind of one of the reasons they scored their first goal was Ward-Prowse kind of switching off and letting their midfield run past him. So Onana's going to be very tough to deal with in that situation. It's why, again, Ward-Prowse is kind of undroppable at the moment because of what he offers from set pieces. But for me, he shouldn't be undroppable. And in these types of games, it might be better to go for a Souček than a Ward-Prowse if you're going to have Kudus in that midfield three. But don't see Moyes doing that. So he's going to be Ward-Prowse, and he's going to have to be switched on to this or this, whichever Everton decide to push on in that moment. But what it will do is leave space. It will leave space for the turnovers. And Everton, especially from corners, in their most recent game against Liverpool, they were very, very open. And the same can kind of be applied for open play, because they're not going to play just as rigid as they did at Anfield against us. They're going to still be compact, but when they do get opportunities, whether it's Harrison out here, whether it's McNeil out on the left over this side, and Mikalenko's making this run, where Bowen's going to be looking to kind of help Kufau if he's playing, or Kera, what they will do then is just peel off this side. And again, Calvert-Lewin has that option to go onto Agard. Decore makes this run, Onana as well if needed. But that is also kind of the risk versus reward, and it's what could actually play into the Moyes game and Moyes' hands of how things could play out. Because if they're in this situation and we've got Kudus playing in this kind of number 10 role or advanced 8, and you've got Paqueta over here, Antonio will likely be like this with the centre backs pushed up. Godfrey tucking in. You're going to see this position sometimes where Kudus is kind of here, Roman in front. You've got Ward-Prowse coming to this side, and you've got Alvarez tucked in here. So what you could see open up is if Onana or Ghana makes this run here, Ward-Prowse will obviously follow. You've got Alvarez, Decore, and Zuma kind of here with Aged, Mark and Calvert-Lewin, and you've got a 2-on-2 situation here. So defensively, that's okay. We just have to deal with those balls into the box. It's how Moyes plays. He allows teams to get into these positions, and he trusts his defenders to be able to clear those balls into the box, which we are actually pretty good at. I would say we are one of the best in the league at defending like that, and it's why Moyes' system works. But then we have to break, and if we pick up the ball or if we clear it, it's going to leave a bit of space here for Kudus. It might not be as exaggerated, the space, but that's where we have to turn over very fast. That's where we have to win the ball, get it into Kudus, and he drives. He drives with that ball, and Bowen is then going to have to, bust a gut to kind of do the defensive and then shift into this offensive mode. Paqueta won't be doing the same run. He'll be drifting in. And then we're going to have to look for maybe even a Ward-Prowse linking up over here. And as Everton try and get back into their shape, we're hoping it's too late by that point. We're hoping we can get and capitalize with the kind of 4-on-4 that could possess if Kudus picks up the ball between the lines. Mykolenko might be out of the picture here. So then you've got Bowen making this run. You've got Mykolenko and McNeil trying to get back. Braithwaite is going to be an interesting one because he's been very good this season for Everton. And he's someone that's definitely developing he's going to be a very, very good player and probably go on to a better team. Sorry, Everton fans, for saying that, but I'm sure you understand that he is a very quality player. And yeah, this battle here with Antonio is going to be an interesting one. If I'm Antonio, I'm targeting Tarkowski more, to be honest. I think he'd have more success there. But yeah, back to the kind of counter-attacking situation. This is why I would play Kudus instead of Souček in this role, because it gives us that outlet for when Everton do press numbers high and when they do leave this gap, because we have Alvarez in this position who is very good at kind of screening that 6 role and defending side to side and, intercepting balls when needed. They don't really have that natural 6, to be honest. If they're going to play a Ghana Onana double pivot with Decore just as the advanced one, which we've seen a lot, that's going to leave a lot of space in the middle of the park for someone like Kudus to drive through and unleash Bowen. We've then got Antonio running the channels, splitting the space. I'd like to see Antonio do this. Paqueta come inside, and then you've got these two linking up here with Bowen here and Ward-Prowse behind. So bit of a visual mess at the moment, but you can kind of understand how we can use Everton's offensive transitions into our own, and what we can then try and do on the counter attack, even though we're playing at home. Now let's get on to the second side of things, where Everton are going to be kind of compact, and we're going to be in a more possession-oriented situation where we are trying to break down Everton. So let's say we find ourselves in a similar position to this, where we've kind of turned over the ball and Everton are going to kind of sit in that low block, and it's going to be up to us to kind of break them down and find ways through. Now, this is the area where I think we are going to struggle, and it's always been a way in which we've struggled under David Moyes. So how are we going to break this Everton team down? Because it is a very, very difficult team to break down. Just look at what they did at Anfield last week with 10 men for most of the game. Liverpool found it very, very difficult to actually break through them, especially in the second half. And yeah, that's what it took a penalty in the end to find that breakthrough. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough because we are pretty slow in our build-up. We'll often see this where Alvarez drops into the back 3. Kufau is often the one pushing higher and providing Bowen support. And Emerson as well, linking up with Paqueta, but in this case, it's going to be Johnson. So that's going to be tougher to do. And we're going to lose that creative outlet from Emerson. It's going to be a very big miss for us from an offensive point of view and defensively, because he's been pretty solid defensively as well. But yeah, it's going to mean we're going to have to sort of change how we approach this, because they are going to sit off like this. Calvert-Lewin might come into here with Decore playing closer, but to be honest, they're probably going to let us have the ball around our defense. They're not going to be bothered about this kind of sideways movement, which we often see, where Kufau will get the ball here, plays it back to Ward-Prowse, and then we kind of go back to Zuma, across, and it's not until it gets to someone like Paqueta where we try and see these balls happen, where Antonio kind of gets in the lines, or whoever the kind of eight is. It's normally Ward-Prowse linking over this side if Souček's playing, and we kind of try and get through that way. And Emerson's often a key part of that because he will often find the gaps inside and outside, and it kind of just discombobulates their defense, and it leaves gaps for someone like Antonio to run through, etc. So that side of things, I think we are going to struggle. I think it's going to be very tough for us to break down that side, which is why I would like to see us go down the other route of using Ward-Prowse as our key figure with Kudus. So obviously, Kudus is going to be key in offensive transitions and quick counterattacks for us if he does play in the middle. But he's also very good in tight areas, and he's very good at finding the kind of half spaces between their midfield and defense, which is why I want to see him roaming. And given that license when we do have ball and we do have possession high up the pitch like this, because Paqueta is naturally going to drift inside, and Johnson will try and overlap, but it just doesn't pose that same attacking threat as Emerson. So they're going to be happy to have this one-on-one because Johnson's either going to be seen down the line with the ball if he gets it out here, and he's going to cross it in with his left foot, which Everton will again feel they're pretty comfortable with dealing with. And yeah, if he does get in this position, he'll often just come back with the ball. Paqueta will collect it and try and play some creative pass, or we go backwards and sideways again. So from that point of view, we're losing down this side, so we're going to have to try something different. We're going to have to try and find different ways, which is where Kudus will come in. So if we're going down that route, for example, we've got Paqueta here, who I think is going to be seen as the key threat to Everton. That might actually allow Kudus even more space or even more opportunities to find the ball a little bit more than maybe they would expect. So, what we'll see here a lot of the time is this, again, big switch. If McNeil's kind of here, and you've got Kufau or Bowen. Bowen will often do this. We'll try and see this. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to capitalize on. We need to get Bowen in this situation here, where Onana then shifts over, McNeil drops in, and you've got Ward-Prowse kind of sitting here, but then you've got this Kudus run, right? So you've got Alvarez here. Decore might try and drop back in, but I think what we've seen from the last few games of Decore, he does tend to stay closer to Calvert-Lewin, and there's less emphasis on him defensively, but he will try and get back into this position. But if you've got someone like Alvarez here, you've got Paqueta then coming into this pocket, you've got Antonio occupying both centre backs, you're going to start to see some space open up. And, Mykolenko, Bowen, this is the battle. This is the one where we're going to get success, because McNeil is going to help defensively. He's going to try and double up, which is why this big switch like this from Agerd, and it's why Agerd could be a really key figure for us offensively again, is because he's very good at that switch, and he's very good at finding that. And Kufau, to his credit, if he is playing, he has a very good engine, so he will go up and down the pitch for a long time, for the majority of the game, and that will allow this. So McNeil's going to have to go with him, and then someone like Onana is going to come in. You then have the option of Bowen, and it's going to then try and suck Calvert-Lewin back in. Decore is going to come back in, and you're going to start to see this where Antonio's doing this. And you think, okay, Everton are quite situated for this, but this is if we're kind of worst case scenario and taking our time over breaking them down when we get this ball. But what we've seen with Bowen is he can go this way or that way. And if we're faster, we'll see something like this. If we go back a little bit, where we kind of in this position and Kufau's down here, we've got the ball over here. They're not going to be like this. They're going to be more like this. Bowen's going to be out here. Mykolenko's not going to be touch tight on him. So what we're going to see is try and get this big switch over here, and McNeil's here. What we want to do is have the transition quicker. So we want Bowen to be in this position here. If Onana comes over, you've then got Kudus making this run here. This is the one I want to see. I want to see Antonio occupy these two centre backs, maybe try and force Braithwaite to go with him a little bit more. And then you've got Paqueta coming inside. And what I want to see is this link up between Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta arriving late into the box. Not all the way, not being in there. I want him arriving late, just off the back of someone like Garner or Onana, so we can find those spaces and get through. So this is how I would try and do it, other than kind of set pieces, because Everton are a pretty big physical team. So relying on set pieces in this type of match, I wouldn't do. It's why I would play someone like Kudus, who I think is going to be very instrumental to whether we're going to get success in possession. Um, and then, you've even got someone like Ward-Prowse who can come in here, and you've got, crosses to the back post to Antonio, or you've got, big switches out to Johnson, who might be in this situation. And, it's just going to help us maintain that pressure as well. So the only thing I'm the only reason I'm saying this is because I think we can afford to do it a bit more against someone like Everton, who naturally in transitions won't be as quick. And we should be, having someone like Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, and even Paqueta inverted like this, we should be able to deal with it. And if someone like Johnson, who, we don't really have the threat of, what Emerson does offensively, but it actually can be seen as a good thing in transitions as well, because, if they're going to play someone like Harrison or Danjuma out on the right, you're going to want someone that's maybe a bit more inverted and just sitting in here. And I think that's what Johnson will do primarily if we have the ball in these situations. So that then kind of negates their counter-attacking threat a little bit. Calvert-Lewin is not the fastest. You've got Alvarez kind of sweeping in this area. And yeah, they're going to look to hit the channels for McNeil. Harrison is probably their fastest player. But again, McNeil's not crazy quick. Calvert-Lewin isn't. Decore isn't. The only thing we need to be careful is if Unana decides to break as well, and we need to get back in numbers, because as good as Kudus can be for us offensively, he needs to make sure he does the defensive work as well if he is going to play in that midfield three. So yeah, that's kind of the breakdown of the match, and how I would like to see it go, or how I think we could maybe get at Everton. This is going to be a key battle, and what we mentioned with them kind of offensively, they will try and overcommit at some points where they try and get those bodies into the box, which is exactly why Kudus for me should be playing in that kind of advanced 8, number 10 role, for that primary reason. So, as I mentioned, it's going to be a very tough game. It's going to require patience. It's going to require some, level of skill or intricacy in those kind of final third moments. But it's something we need to get a lot better at. It's something we struggle to do more often than not, and it's something that's going to take our game from here to here, because we're going to be able to have the counter attack inside of David Moyes' teams, but also, pose more of a threat when we do have more possession. So tough game. We're going to have to be switched on to that Calvert-Lewin, crosses into the box. That battle with Agaird's going to be interesting if he does play. And yeah, like I mentioned, Kudus for me is going to be a key figure for us if we are going to get success on the counter-attacks and even in possession when we have the ball. So that's going to be it. My score prediction before I leave. I do think we'll have enough for Everton. I do think we will find that space. It's tough. It's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a 2-1 to us. Could easily be a 1-1, but yeah, I'm going to go 2-1. Stay a bit more positive. Try and get back onto the winning ways for us in the league, and obviously domestically, or on our Europa campaign as well. So yeah, we're 3 games without a win now. Need to get back to winning ways. Hopefully we can do it against Everton, but it's going to be a very tough game. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think it's going to be an easier game than maybe I'm anticipating, or do you kind of share the same, I don't know, reservations as me as to how difficult this game will be? So yeah, that's all for today. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and yeah, until next time, come on you Irons.